You've done too much, and when you do too much, the patient gets worse. So when is enough too much? What is the stamina of the area? We don't want to stimulate or exceed metabolic capacity. So how do I successfully treat ADD, ADHD? And I'm going to tell you by using specific metabolic and neurological testing and treatments. So let's talk about metabolic testing and treatments. The first thing I'm going to do, folks, is sensitivity testing. I'm going to test your child for sensitivities to gluten, milk, soy, eggs, yeast. And I will guarantee you, just about every child that I have seen in my office and successfully treated with ADD, ADHD, they are sensitive to at least gluten. Some soy and milk, some all five. The only way to know is to test the patient. Excuse me. This isn't a guessing game. This is your child's life. We're dealing with the rest of your life. Remember the staggering facts that we checked off at the very beginning? So, we run sensitivity tests. What are they? Well, it's a stool test. And here are some of the symptoms of sensitivities. Maybe your child suffers from them. Chronic pain or fatigue, frequent indigestion, bloated after eating, frequent loose bowel movements, constipation. I have not seen too many kids with mouth ulcers or sores. But I will say I did have one patient who said she did have mouth ulcers. And normal testing is 0 to 10 units. She was off the chart at 400 units. She had severe fibromyalgia. And they vomit often. I haven't seen one patient tell me they vomit often. So the only way to find out if your child is suffering from any of these sensitivities is to test them for it. I'll tell you right up front, I know this stuff. My 7-year-old, I have 5 kids. Let's just go there first. My oldest son, Joe, 24 years old, graduated from MIT, brainiac. Thank God he doesn't take after his old man. Takes after my wife. God, all my kids take after my wife. My daughter, Kate, graduated from Boston University. Very smart girl. My daughter, Mary, attends Madison, University of Wisconsin. My son, Jens, is a senior at Menasha. And we have a 7-year-old, Jake. And Jake was slow to walk, slow to talk, slow to potty train. So I ran this test on me first. And guess what? Dad is sensitive to gluten, milk, and soy. I carry the gene, the gluten sensitivity gene, which can be measured. And guess what? My son Jake is sensitive to gluten. So we have gotten him off gluten. And that makes a world of difference. I know this stuff, folks. I'm living it. So, sensitivity testing, we run complete blood panels, a thyroid panel. The thyroid controls your body metabolism. A complete metabolic panel. A lipid panel, and a CBC, complete blood chemistry with autodifferential. By assessing your child's thyroid, adrenal glands, kidneys, liver, red and white blood cells. You know, this is what happens with chronic health conditions like ADD, ADHD. You need to look at the whole. Not just pump your child full of drugs. That drug didn't, try this one. Oh, that one didn't work, try this. It's Russian roulette with your kid. And if you want that, my office is not for you. And again, I'm not saying don't take medications. I am saying let's run the proper testing, let's fix your child, and they won't need the medication. Man, I go into schools and there's a drawer full of meds for kids who have ADD, ADHD. And the school, and it's just, I'm not criticizing, but you know, that's all they know. They're just handing them out to the kids. So, we need to look at it. If your child is younger than 12, I won't run this test. If they're older than 12, I will. An adrenal stress index. Why? The adrenal glands are your stress organs. They sit right above your kidneys. This is a salivary test, much like the DNA testing. And we want to check it over a course of 4 periods during the day. 8 a.m., noon, 4 p.m., 10 p.m. If the child suffers from insomnia, or they may be diabetic or blood sugar problems, this test is a must. Now, these tests are probably the most important. They're the immune panels. If your child is autoimmune, and many, I won't say all, but pretty darn close, many ADD, ADHD kids are autoimmune. Their immune system is attacking their nervous system and their brain. How do you know? You test for it. Okay, you can run specific blood tests. There's two parts to your immune system, Th1 and Th2. They have to work together. If one is dominant, there's a problem. And their immune system could be attacking their brain and nervous system. So how do we know if they are Th1 or Th2 dominant? You run the test. See, this isn't a guessing game. This isn't some airy-fairy, ooh, let's try this. Well, that didn't work. Let's try this. So you want to test specific markers. And the specific markers for Th1 is interleukin-2 and TNF-alpha. If we run the test with interleukin-2 and TNF-alpha and they are high, your child is Th1 dominant. What does that mean? Th1 is T cells. T cells are the army in your body that attacks and cleans up afterward. They're helper T cells, suppressor T cells, natural killer cell activity, regulatory T cells, and macrophages. If your child is autoimmune, there is a specific autoimmune protocol that we put the child on first. And it's very simple. Now, we also test for interleukin-4 and interleukin-10. If your child is Th2 dominant, interleukin-4 and interleukin-10 are going to be high. What is Th2? Well, it's B cells. B cells are part of your immune system that makes antibodies. They tell the T cells what to kill. If the testing comes back with high B cell count, the patient is Th2 dominant. So those are specific tests that we can run. So what do we do? Well, the immune panel consists of T and B lymphocyte and natural killer cell panel. It consists of interleukin-2, TNF-alpha, interleukin-4, and interleukin-10, and it consists of natural killer cell activity. That's what we're testing for. And then once we determine if they're Th1 or Th2 dominant, what's causing that dominance? Is it an antigen or is it dysregulation? Big fancy terms. But an antigen is something within the body that the body is trying to attack. And they can be parasites, bacteria, viruses, mold, yeast, fungi, protozoan, foods. You see why we test for sensitivity to foods? Gluten, milk, soy, eggs, yeast first, chemicals, and heavy metals. The best indicator for an active antigen as the cause of your child's abnormal dominance, if they have one, is the helper-suppressor T-cell ratio on the T and B cell panel. It's also called the CD4-CD8 ratio. The closer to 2.5 or above, then it's more likely your child's dealing with an antigen. If the ratio is below 1.2, there's most likely dealing with dysregulation. What do I mean by that? Maybe it's an anemia, maybe it's a blood sugar problem, maybe it's a gut issue, maybe it is the adrenal glands. You do the tests. You also want to check for leaky gut. Leaky gut syndrome is it's a condition of altered or damaged bowel lining. It's caused by antibiotics, toxins, poor diet, parasites, infections. Can lead to increased permeability of the gut wall to toxins, microbes, undigested food, waste, or larger than normal macromolecules. It has been proposed that these substances affect the body directly, while others postulate an immune reaction to these substances. That's what I'm postulating, an immune reaction. All right. The child is older, say 16, 17, 20. We can check hormone panels. So, that's how we check and treat your child metabolically. We run the tests, we treat them with nutrition. They're probably autoimmune, so we're going to start the autoimmune protocol first. You don't know unless you run the test. Don't assume anything with any child. See, we treat the individual. It's not one size fits all. Here, take this drug. Everybody with ADD, here's this drug. Take it. No.